Hey everyone, Julian here today. I'm going to be showing you how to make some raw, hard, industrial techno. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets. This entire template is available for you at the top of the description on my website. It's really at an accessible price. You can get an extremely high quality, professional sounding template that'll take your tracks to the next level today. If you've been struggling or you need some new inspiration, this is what you need. Do yourself a favor, grab it, make your best music. Once again, links at the top of the description. Thank you so much for the support, guys, and let's dive in. Alright, so right off the bat, we're at 150 BPM, you know, a bit faster for techno, but it's a good groove. And one thing I do want to say is when you're at these faster tempos, you know, it's a bit less of, like, syncopation and a lot of stuff, and a lot more, like, for example, this melody is just dun, dun, dun. Like, it's very simple. The faster you get, the more you want to stick to, like, quarter notes and eighth notes for everything. First thing we got up here is just the side chain. Then we have the kick, which actually includes this layer as well. So you can hear, this is a very crunchy kick. Now, what's happening here is we've got this kick right off the bat, just like a super punchy, hard kick. I made this one with like a bit of multi-band distortion, basically. And you can see in the waveform, it's just got that big click at the start. You know, and it really hits like those harder tracks do. Then we have the bass, which is actually made with another kick. And what we're doing is we're using the method where you stretch that kick out, right? You can see I'm warping it here. I've stretched it a bunch. It's pitched a little. It's going through this really short reverb. And then we have this audio effect track, which is like a multi-band distortion. So we have the lows, right, going through that amp, mids, going through this chain, and then the highs, which are being distorted. And they actually have this low pass, which you can hear adds a lot of nice crunch. And this is really how you can get that nice textured bass. It's just distorting it, you know, multi-band. After that rack, so I'll close that so you can see what's happening. After that, we get this EQ doing a bass cut at 29 hertz, cutting out the muddy stuff, and also cutting out some of the highs. We're converting it to mono at the end, very important, and then we're just side chaining it. And then the last thing inside of this group is this mid layer, which is a very similar thing. It's just a warped kick, right? We're stretching out. This is going through a delay, a reverb, an overdrive, and then this EQ, which is kind of like a bandpass filter, right? But kind of like a custom one. So that just cuts out. So you just get that like vroom, vroom. Kind of like a nice, you know, mid-range layer, and then it's being sidechained. And when you put that all together, you see how that last layer really fills it in. We also have this layer, which is kind of doing a similar thing, right? So this is actually like a play on what's happening here. It's the same chain, but instead I'm just cutting the lows a lot more. So it's really just this over top of this other one. So it kind of makes up the mid-range there. That's being drum bussed a bit. And then pretty simple. On the group of that kick, we also have a little bit of drum bus actually. So here's without. And then with. Obviously for this harder, more aggressive techno, it really sounds good. We've got an EQ8 cutting at 52 hertz. And then I have a utility converting it to mono. I really find with these, you know, like harder tracks, you want to cut the bass really, really high actually. Like 52 hertz might seem crazy, but if you leave all that sub in, it won't quite match up with references I've found. So then we have the hi-hats. So it's 4 layers. It's this one, which you can hear makes up that. This one, which is like just this open hi-hat being reverbed and distorted a lot. And then this, which is actually just a bit of white noise inside of operator going through a bandpass, but it fills in that like space. And that's all going to come together to make this really hard-hitting. You really want that to be equal to the kick. If the kick's going to be this big, fat rumble, you also want the hi-hat to be really hard-hitting. We have a few more background percussions. So the first thing here is the shaker. Right, just doing some 16th notes. Then we have these operator percussions. So what's happening is it's 1 in the high end, which kind of like plays and then stops, plays and then stops, right? So this is made with operator. It's just a bunch of FM, basically kind of using sine waves and a triangle wave, you can see. But when you put this second one up really high with the coarse pitch, you get like that kind of like almost metallic hit out of it, right? So then we've got a bandpass on that. A little bit of an LFO on the bandpass so it moves around. We have some filter delay, a bit of distortion in the shape of amp and overdrive, which obviously you can hear it, you know. That's really going to be the key to this, because straight out of the synth, it's pretty tame. Right? Like, it's really just like a little... But that brings out the harmonics, high pass filter, and then sidechain for the second operator percussion. So it's like this morphing kind of noise. And the way you do that is it's white noise, and then it's filtering and kind of shaping the filter. So what's happening is it's white noise going into a low pass filter, which has an envelope on it that's kind of plucky like that, as well as a hard shaper. But on top of that, we also have this LFO on the filter. And it's that sample and hold, which basically means like a random LFO. So you can hear when I turn it off and then turn it back on. It kind of just gives it a bit more life. Then it's just going through a bit of delay. This amp, which is also crucial with this one. Here's without that. With it, obviously for the industrial texture, that's what you really want. We have a high pass filter, which is really important with this kind of stuff. You see, if I turn that off, it's just like, and then sidechain. Then we have this delay percussion. Which you can hear that in the whole mix. So this is nice, like kind of crunchy percussion. You can see what's happening here is actually, this is when you hear it go like that, like it kind of morphs. All that is it's a sample that had that, right? And you can see I'm playing it down, right? Because here, C3 would be like the original pitch of the sample. So we're playing it a whole octave down. It's like this. I'll play you the original sample. Right? So when you play that an octave down, you get this like movement like that. And then that just happened to fit really well over the kick. We just put a bit of delay and then distort it. High pass and then sidechain, and it becomes this nice kind of like moving percussion, right? And then we have the lead. So this is actually a really simple lead, but it's just kind of a nice catchy pattern with some call and response, right? Because you have like the call and then the response. Right? And that's really how techno works, right? Call and response. And so by doing this with all this other percussion, but then doing it here in the melody too. And again, it's actually a super simple melody. It's literally just on the quarter notes. There's no syncopation. There's no crazy rhythm or anything like that. You're just trying to keep it really simple since the track is so fast. And it's only 4 notes. It's just this kind of like evil sounding like, which you can do this in any key. It's literally just 2 notes that are semitone apart like that. And then you put a whole note between them. And then a semitone again. And you get that like evil kind of hard techno scale. A lot of these producers use that scale. Now, for the actual sound, it's made with wavetable, and basically to get these kind of like evil, messed up kind of like leads, where it sounds like it's just falling apart, you're basically taking like sine waves, square waves, triangle waves, and saw waves, like the basic waveforms. You can use some of these wavetables too, but for the most part, it's taking those and then using FM and different like warps of the waveform to create the sound and kind of take it, you know, beyond just like a sine wave. Because if it's just a sine wave, it's going to sound like this. Right? But we have 2 things here. One being this FM. Right? So that on its own. Right? And what's happening is there's this envelope on that. So it kind of goes burr, burr, like plucks like that. And then we have a noise unison as well, all the way up. So you get this super detuned, messed up kind of thing like that, right? So then we've got a high pass filter on that. Pretty important if I turn that off. Because later on we're distorting this, so if you have all that like low end going into the distortion, you can hear it sounds like a completely different sound compared to that. Then we have this hybrid reverb. I really like this for texture. We've got an overdrive as well, just like crunching that up. Another high pass because the overdrive can add a little bit of problems there. And then we just have a sidechain. And then the last thing we have down here is this little groove, which is happening between these 3 layers of operator percussion. So this is a bit of call and response as well. You can see we'll have like that big like stab, like the big metallic sound, and then the right, and it's not just about the sound design of each of these individually. I'll show you that for sure, but I want you to notice like it's the way these two, you hear that and then it's the fact that these are working together, not just that it's like these random stabs in the middle of the track, right? And if I turn off the melody, this is even like a groove on its own. Right, so I'll show you the metallic sounds first. They're actually based on the same patch. It's kind of like that sound design technique where you want a sound that's very similar to the other sound, but it's going to be slightly different. So you can just make the first one and then duplicate the patch and then just kind of like tweak it a bit and get, you know, these similar things. They operate kind of like in the same world, but they're just not exactly the same every time. So really the key to these is just super distorted operator sine wave FM. So you can see like it's a sine wave, really 4 sine waves on this first one here. And then you can see it's the chorus pitch is being up super high, as well as this like massive amount of detune. If you don't do that, you don't really get the metallic thing. Like if you just make it like, you know, 0 fine tune. See, it's more really just like a sine wave. You really want to detune that. And that's where you get all that crazy like metallic overtones. We also have a low pass filter, no envelope, it's just set there. Here's without it. And with it, it kind of helps the sound be a little bit more like mid-range focused. We've got a bunch of reverb being distorted by this amp. Right, that's how you get that like destroyed metallic thing. Here's without it. It's literally just like a very chill little FM sound, but then when you distort some reverb on it, you get that. We have a high pass filter, this compressor just for a sidechain, and then actually another high pass. Never have too many. And then the second one, again, similar patch, is just some operator FM. This has like a lot more detune going on. So you kind of, it goes like into like an even more insane place, right? So we've got that low pass reverb. And then this one actually just has, I think there's like, yeah, there's a hard shaper. So that's what's distorting that one. And then, yeah, just sidechain. And then for the last sound, so what's happening is it's these like short staccato 16th notes. And then it's using FM and also a bit of automation together with the 16th notes to create everything that's happening. So it's basically those like simple notes, and then it's a square wave being FM'd by this saw 4. So it's a saw wave with like a lot of the harmonics removed. We have them at the same octave, but they're super detuned. You can see like if we put that back to normal, it's a little bit too flat, right? Again, like that detune just makes it crazy. Right off the bat, you can see we're automating the volume of oscillator B. Like that. We've also got this high pass filter, which has like this heavy automation, and that's what really creates that movement. Like that's the pattern. Right? And you can do so much with that. Like you can set it so many different ways and get a whole different sound, right? So that's what's really cool about this. Then we just have a bit of delay, hybrid reverb, some overdrive, and amp. So here's without those. You can see it's almost there, but that's what's really going to push it over the edge to really sound like a nice industrial, hard techno sound. And it works together really nicely with the filter too, because we have a high resonance. So when you distort that, you get kind of like some juice. We got a high pass, and then just a sidechain. And yeah. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available at the top of the description on my website. Definitely don't miss out, guys. This is a really great way to support yourself and make the best music of your career today. I promise you'll really be glad you grabbed this. Go ahead and pick it up, top of the description. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.